Anyone?
You're ready to go.
Okay, David invocation, Gary pledge. Let's call the December meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. We'll have a moment of silence and then Mr. David will do the invocation. So, a moment of silence, please. Mr. David, when you're ready, please, sir.
Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to be here each and every day and worship you in your name. And thank you for allowing us to assemble to make good decisions for the county when it comes to agriculture. And please give us the wisdom in the future. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay. Forward. Pledge of allegiance, Mr. Gary.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Let's look at the minutes from the November meeting. And
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
yes,
Do we not need to amend the agenda in light of what we have been asked by administration and council to do? That would be an action item that would need to be on our agenda for tonight's discussion and approval by the board.
all right. Would you like to make the motion to amend?
I would like to make a motion to amend tonight's Ag Board Advisory agenda to include discussion and action item of the meetings for the first quarter of 2026 to be postponed per administration and council request.
All right. I will second that, and you might let everyone know, or at least maybe let us know what.
Well, we can discuss that when it comes. It just needs to be an action item on the agenda right now. That we've been asked as a request. We can discuss the pros, the cons, and what the pleasure of the board is at that time. But it really needs to be like item C probably, and I guess I could include within that motion that I was going to ask, agricultural signage is C, that is on our agenda, and that is in our minutes that we're about to approve as a tabled item from November 10th of 25, correct?
Right.
So we need to take item C, agricultural signs, amend it to not be on the agenda, and add the discussion and proposal from administration and council for us to discuss postponing meetings for the first quarter of 2026. And also, sorry, but Mr. Rothel is here from the Farm Center. If we're going to discuss Farm Center, we need to add him to the agenda where we have Farm Center that he is going to speak under B.
Yeah, it's B, it's there. So we have a motion and a second to amend the minutes that, amend the agenda, and that's because we've been asked to postpone our meetings for a quarter because of staffing shortage. Mr. Shirley's asked us to, not meet until April.
April, second quarter of 2026.
So we're looking at voting to adjust the agenda for first meeting of the year to be April.
On the agenda. We haven't voted to do it. We just need to put it on the agenda so we can discuss it. And then whatever the pleasure of the board is what we'll do.
So we just need to vote on it at this point?
Well, we
Yeah,
have a
to
motion and a
amend.
second, so I think now's the discussion part.
To amend the agenda. All we're doing is amending the agenda at this particular point in the meeting.
Okay.
And the reason is because of staffing shortage, and Mr. Shirley asked us to do that, so we'll gladly,
We can discuss that. We just need to amend the agenda right now. It just needs to be put on the agenda, those changes. And we have a second. So now it's time to vote to change the agenda so we can discuss it.
all those in favor of amending the agenda, raise your hand, okay? Any
Now we
opposed?
can move forward with the minutes. We just have to amend the agenda before we go forward.
I'm not sure about B on number 8, discussion B, land protection, which I don't know if it's relevant or not, but it says that there was essentially a deed restriction on that property. There was no deed restriction on that property at all. No conservation easement nor deed restriction. If it's relevant, I don't know if it is or not, but it's,
So the thing is, the land wasn't originally sold to forestry. It was sold to Nature Land Trust.
Yep.
Forestry is now trying to buy it, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Is that not what y'all
Well-
understood? So that needs to be corrected, because it's not,
yeah, there's no deed restrictions or conservation easements or anything on it.
no, he said it was a fee simple is what they did. That, I'm not sure how that needs to be corrected. Suggestions?
I mean, it may not be relevant, but it's just that, maybe it just needs to be stricken because there's not a deed restriction on that title.
And it needs to be changed that the farm was being sold to Nature Land Trust, not to, that is the title holder now. That's
Yeah.
whose name's on the deed,
Yes,
not to forestry.
that's right.
So if we can make that change, the farm was being sold to Nature Land Trust. Not to forestry. I think forestry was looking at it, but has recently backed off, so.
And therefore, the restriction or the easement or whatever it was never got put on there,
No,
so it never existed, so.
So are you wanting to remove where it's stating it is essentially a deed restriction, not a conservation easement?
It's,
yeah.
it's neither.
It's neither
They,
one.
the paperwork was checked in the paperwork that there was a conservation easement, but there was not a conservation easement. And it was Nature Land Trust, and I think they're still listed as the title holder, not forestry.
Okay.
I think those two things need to be changed, for sure. And he is correct. This was a confusing legal transaction. Still confusing.
So would you put that in the form of a motion so she can change it?
Oh, well, I thought David did.
Did you?
well, I brought it out, but I will make a motion.
That we change
I
both
make a
of
motion
those.
that we change or strike that whole sentence out because it does not have a deed restriction or a conservation easement.
And if we could add that we need to change it from forestry to nature land trust is who
Yeah.
it's being sold to.
Yes.
I will second it. I will
Okay.
second that motion.
All those in favor of making amendments to the minutes, raise your hand, okay?
Yes.
So that passes.
Do you need a motion to accept with the amended changes? Is that what you're waiting on? I'll make a motion to accept with amended changes.
And second, and any discussion? Okay, so we're voting to accept the amendments. Accept the
I jumped
amendments.
the gun, sorry.
Say, raise your hand if you in favor of adjusting the
Unanimous.
minutes, okay. No opposed, so, so number C there, we'll have to, where will this leave us with that? I don't know, we may can still meet with the farm board on January 29th. It says our meeting, we are to meet with the farm center. I don't know how to.
Can you come as individuals?
We can hold a meeting if we just let Elise know, correct, and we can meet over at the farm center.
So if it's an emergency and it like has to be done, yes, but I think council is proposing to hold off until April, to give me a chance to catch up and kind of start the year off.
I think officially, we are not to meet. I think if you want to come as individuals, I don't think anybody can stop anybody as an individual if they want to come, but there can be no official action.
And if there is a chance that there is going to be a quorum at any of these meetings, I just need to know so that I can advertise it on our end, just in case.
That's my assumption. That's what I mentioned, that if we want to meet, we let you know and then you publish it and it's okay.
I just need to know well in advance because I would have to put out a legal ad in the newspaper and it has to be advertised for so many days.
Well, let's leave that as it is right now, because we'll probably bring up some of that when we discuss the farm center here in just a minute. Then we can amend the minutes if we need to, but,
I don't think we have to amend the
Need to,
minutes. I think it's just that will not happen moving forward or whatever the pleasure of the board is. I don't think there's any more amending to the minutes once we've accepted them. The minutes stand as
I
submitted.
don't think it needs amending anyway, so. Good, okay.
So I think the date was just a proposal anyways, so it wasn't like a set meeting, so I think that that's fine.
Okay. Is there any discussion on farmland protection?
Yes, I'd like to bring up a couple things. When we do get the authorization to meet again, I would love to see us do some meaningful projects, and I would like to throw kudos out to Kim. She has brought up the idea of pulpwood, I'm not sure if I'm properly saying this correction, pulpwood generator, where these generators can burn the debris and all the byproduct of pulpwood, scraps, everything, even wood chips. And there are some places that are actually using that to generate power, because Blue Ridge has told me personally that there is a problem we're gonna have a problem with power if it keeps on the way things are going. And I understand that there is a generator actively working in Toccoa, and I would love to, maybe sometime in the new year, that a couple of us arrange to go over there and do a tour of this place, I'd love to see it, just curious to see how it works. And, I talked with the Blue Ridge rep, just in casual conversation, no official meeting or anything. And they said they're always looking at new ideas, to generate power. And the reason why I'm saying this is Kim had a good idea. This could help the loggers in the timber industry. You know, timber is what, number 3 in agricultural, investment in the state? I think I'm correct, number 3. Just behind poultry and beef and crop production, row cropping. So that would be a direct impact if we could influence Duke or Blue Ridge to experiment with the pulpwood generators to give the loggers and the timber producers a leg up. I think that would be something very meaningful and very direct for the farming industry here in Oconee. And I just think it'd be a good idea. And also, Kim had this idea too, to see if we could figure out some type of a co-op. And there may be one. I think there is. Soil and Water has a grain drill.
They have 2.
They have 2. But also, if we could somehow collect funds to maybe, and I brought this up a couple of meetings prior, that a young farmer starting out, a $2,000 auger to build fence, to dig for posts for fences. And then I know my auger hadn't been used in 4 or 5 years. I don't even know where it is. It's somewhere around the property. Save the young farmer that $2,000 by us lending it out, or either doing a real small lease rental thing where they could use it for a weekend or something, and then bring it back, and we'd actually store this equipment on county property. I'm sure we could work that out with the county. And those are just some good ideas that I think that will be directly impacting young farmers. And I'm hoping that we will try to implement some great ideas that will direct farmers in the future, in 2026. That's what I wanted to, that was the first thing I want to talk about. And then, does anybody want to talk about that before I go to the second one? Is there any in agreement or?
No, I will agree with you on that. I wasn't going to bring up, I was trying to stay in order. I think the co-op thing, you had brought that up, so you're actually the one that kind of had that idea. I just had some friends in Tennessee and North Carolina, and so Georgia and North Carolina are way ahead of us in South Carolina as far as, and y'all know that because y'all go to Clayton all the time. We're not crazy. We go to Raven. We see what they do with their center, and I think Daniel's trying to do some of that here, but they're far ahead of us in that. And so a lot of that is done through their county, and they do have a small co-op, and that is one of the things of networking farmers together. And the small farmer needs the networking a lot more, and you're correct, David, in bringing that out, than the larger farmer. And somehow we've got to get to reach those farmers and let them know they're not alone, and that we can pull them together and network them together to utilize things. And we talked about that. If I have an auger and you have a seeder, can we swap? Can we do this? Can we barter? And those kind of have to be worked out with the farmer. But if you put the catalyst together and the mechanism like you were talking about, I think that's where we could help with a lot of that. And so maybe that is, one of the things, and when we look back at our mission, that may need to change a little bit, but in what we do as far as an advisory board. As far as the pulp fire generator, I was going to bring that up in the district report, but I'll go ahead and kind of give you an idea. So the first thing that has to happen is we have to have all of our power people on board. We know Blue Ridge is. They've told you, they've told me, we've talked to members of the board, different people, and their economic development people and their key accounts folks. And so we know we've got that going for us. We just need Duke on board, and who will have to be the one to spearhead that. And I've made that contact, and I'll continue to work on that even though we're not meeting. And that's their wholesale power person, and that comes out of Charlotte. We have someone locally, and I know who that is, and I know him personally. And so we can have that conversation, and it will be a long, drawn-out conversation, because they'll have to go up the chain of command to get us what we need to be able to start that process. But I do think with Georgia Power being able to do it, I even think not Santee, but SCE&G, Florida Power and Light, there's different places across the country that have tried it. So I do think it's something we can look at, and our timber basket has nowhere to go right now. So I think those are all positives, but it will be a slow process. And maybe we'll have some good news by the second quarter, but it'll just be a slow growth. So, but that is where we're at so far. We have made progress.
It would be wonderful if Blue Ridge would be willing to experiment with one.
And maybe so, especially, when you look at proximity of where they could, like, you have 3 sawmills in Salem, none of which are running. That may be an ideal spot on that. There's definitely enough room in that sub. Maybe down where Charlie was talking about, there at Crossroads, that may be another one. I mean, those subs that, there may be some areas where we can. I don't know. I don't know how the grid works. I'm not a power person. I just know from what I've been told from having members of the family in that industry. But we can at least try. So,
Well, the second thing I wanted to bring up too was, under farmland protection is, of course, when the agriculture task force was formed to figure out what was the biggest negative impact on farming, and of course, the task force stated that they believed that development of our lands in Oconee County was the biggest threat to farming as of right now in Oconee County. Having said that, I'm sure everybody's heard about the Clemson-Neary debacle development going on. And I'd like to put this into a motion if possible. County Council has stood up for us, Oconee, especially as farming. They stopped that 5,200 house development in Neary. And I heard that big developer was come back to council and said that, well, we'll drop it down to 3,900 homes. And council said, no, it's still not in our density standards. And I'm sure Elise could verify that. She's in the planning department, and they're sticking to their guns. A lot of people would say, oh, this is Clemson and multi-million-dollar developers, let's just let them do what they want. But they're sticking to their guns. And which means they are addressing the overdevelopment problem, which our board has agreed that that's the biggest problem. And I think I could put this into a motion that we should write a letter thanking county council for doing that as a farming perspective. If I could put that into a motion, that we could write a letter thanking them for standing up to the multi-million-dollar developers to protect our land. So I'd like to put that into a motion if that's possible.
Would you like to draft the letter also?
I would be glad to.
Okay. I would second that. I think they've done a good thing in holding up to the development standards that the county has.
Yeah.
And so a motion and a second to write them a letter of appreciation, is it?
It would be just a simple letter saying that we, the Ag Advisory Board, would like to thank you and support your efforts in sticking to our density standards against development, because our farmland is according to our advisory board, our task force, that is the biggest threat in Oconee, and thank you for sticking to our density standards and holding firm.
I'll go along with that. I just say that so it's not held up in progress, if that is what is in the body of the letter, and it is sent to Elise, and then she sends it out to us. It's approved, sign it, send it, not have 20 discussions over it.
that's basically what I just said would be said, and Elise could help me with,
Right.
I'm not the best letter writer in the world, I might need your
It's
assistance.
okay, I'll help you.
I'm
Okay.
just saying, once you're done with it, let's send it on.
Okay.
That's really all I'm saying. We need to vote?
Any other discussion on that? I think it's a good idea. Support it. No other discussion? All those in favor say, aye.
Nana?
Any opposed? All are in favor. Okay, so thank you, David, for that thought. That's a good idea. Farm Center. Mr. Daniel Rothel's here, to talk about Farm Center business.
Well, I came to chat a little bit. If y'all don't have, if y'all got a little time, I don't have anything real specific, but I wanted to just kind of put this idea in front of you to be thinking about.
Thank you.
Also, thanks for all y'all do. I know it's got to be hard to kind of work with this kind of bureaucracy and like standards and stuff. And I commend your patience and your stick-to-itiveness for this stuff. So just a little word of encouragement there. But yeah, I mean, Farm Center's eager to have relationship, or I am at least, and look for ways that we can partner together on things. One idea I've been tossing around is an agriculture incubator. And really just wanted to get a few thoughts around that tonight if we had time. Just get your advice and input and kind of think about what resources may be available, or ideas like, David, like you were saying on renting equipment and things like that, or having a cooperative model for, maybe county buying equipment, but maybe for us, it's inviting farmers to donate equipment. We'd be the group that kind of manages it or something, is an idea. The other quick side note about your pulpwood energy generator thought is just, I think there's some interest from the business community in that. I heard that the guy that runs Headley is kind of interested in pursuing that thing, so if anybody knows him, he may have done some research that may save y'all some money work with him. And maybe your method is supporting a business that's trying to pursue that rather than pursue it on your own. But anyway, that was a side note. So the ag incubator, I don't know if this is anything y'all want to talk about or just take it and, kind of look at it and reach out to me individually with input and comments. But my vision for an agriculture incubator would be something that addresses the whole ecosystem, from creating the demand for local agriculture. And this is geared more towards small farming, not industrial farming. But that's not to say that it couldn't somehow support both. This is my rough framework for the idea in general. I don't want this to be a Farm Center thing. I don't want it to be a Daniel Rothel thing. I want it to be a all of us thing that we can code design and create and develop for the community. I also want it to be a prototype that we can experiment and try some things with agriculture, document it well, and be a model for other communities to follow. My original vision for this was for it to happen at the Farm Center, but honestly, it doesn't have to happen at the Farm Center. It could happen in pockets around the county, as long as it kind of falls under this, or falls under the prototype, and we're experimenting and documenting. That's really the main gist of it. Y'all want to run through this? Y'all want to take it home and think about it, or how you think our time would best be spent?
Yeah, kind of give us a rundown here.
Well, we'll run through it right quick. I'll just mention the highlights here. So, like I mentioned, I'm applying this to small scale agriculture, and I don't want to compete or disparage the industrial ag side of things. but the focus is mainly on small ag. Yeah, so the vision includes creating local demand for farm products through events and programs. You know, we've got a lot going on in the county right now. The Farm Center's been doing well. We got Christy Carlton and the Oconee Farm Collective talking about this farmer collaboration like you were talking about, Kim. I mean, she's building that coalition. She's doing it for profit and for nonprofit. They had the Oconee County Farm Crawl in the fall. And, you know, of course, the Food Council had their spring farm crawl, and that was very popular. They're planning another farm crawl for the spring, hopefully in conjunction with a spring event at the Farm Center. She's also planning a magazine for Oconee agriculture. So, again, trying to coordinate that with the Farm Center's farmers market launch. So she hopes to profile the local farms that are in her collective, sell ad space to farm-related industries, and distribute the magazine for free to really teach and equip people how to buy local agriculturally grown and sourced products. So that's part of creating the demand side of it. You know, I want to create an environment where it's easy for new people to get into farming. Young folks, ag entrepreneurs, whatever it is, we want to provide pathways for those type of folks to get into farming without, you know, large financial investments. We want to equip the youth. I mean, this is nothing if we don't involve the youth in this. Right now, our county's FFAs seem to be in a really cohesive mode of operation. I mean, I've never seen the kind of cooperation that they've had across the different schools, and I think it's perfect timing to seize on that. Regenerative and sustainable practice, you know, we want to equip people to be really good stewards of the land with this. And then hopefully, you know, connecting aspiring growers to landowners. You know, I think this land trust and conservation issue that's a hot topic in our county right now, in thinking about farmers who have agriculture land that they don't want to see it go to development, who better to sell or lease that land to than these people that we're training to be excellent stewards of the land, right? And to become producers and not just consumers. So the fourth section is, before I move on, yes, this is definitely a cooperative concept. And what I mean by open source concept is that, again, this isn't like just my thing. I want everybody to pitch in the best ideas, and I want leaders to step forward and take stewardship. I'm kind of against ownership at the moment, but I think this is an idea I would love to see a lot of people steward and bring to life. The reason for doing it as a prototype is I want to develop and test a model, like I said, that other communities can adopt. Yeah, I mean, prototyping is doing small scale. So when we design this thing, you know, we pick the problem that we want to solve, the people that we're going to design this for. We're going to ideate ideas, all the fun brainstorming stuff, and then we're going to pick those best ideas to prototype and test and collect data, and then you just keep going through the cycle where you're continually improving and trying new things. Existing momentum I already kind of covered, where the Farm Center's doing pretty well with events. We want to be doing more with education. The Food Council, you know, they have done some really amazing work. I think they've done a lot of research, a lot of work. I know they're strapped for resources, but they've help build that momentum in Oconee County for this initiative. The Farmer Collective, like I mentioned, Christy Carlton's business, and the Farm Crawls, you know, man, I've had so many conversations with people in that homesteading community that have a passion for this, that want to be teaching what they know to other people. They just need a framework. They need a space. They need a model to go by. Obviously, FFA is critical to the whole thing. And then, yeah, I feel like there's a large interest in local food in Oconee County right now. And again, the whole idea for this is just to link it all together. We're not talking about making big investments of time and money. This is really just putting the pieces in place to start linking us all together and give us a project to work towards. So the purpose on the back there, number 6, I kind of talked about already. Trying to strengthen the demand side and the supply side. We strengthen the demand side by increasing consumer awareness, building community connection around food, using events and education to strengthen demand for local products and to help people understand the benefits of local agriculture. This is a marketing thing, really. It's trying to communicate and create the hunger for what we've got here, and to educate the consumers in our county about what you can realistically expect from local agriculture, and understand the economics of local agriculture and why it costs more to get a tomato at the farmer's market than it does at the grocery store, but why that tomato's so much better for you. And then on the supply side, like I said, this project a working farm somewhere would train aspiring farmers and families, teach regenerative and sustainable practices to farmers who are already growing, build homesteading and life skills, provide mentorship and practical pathways, encourage cooperation. Man, I already see so much of that at the market. It's been really amazing to see, like, these folks have no interest. The best growers, have no interest in competing with the other. Everybody's been really cool about sharing techniques, sharing their prices, helping these young people getting into it, understand the economics and what sells and what doesn't. But I think there's a lot of desire for cooperation and unity in our county right now. Among the ag folks that I know. And then creating that network of shared knowledge and mutual support, man. There is so much wisdom in our ag community, and everybody's so siloed and figuring out everything on their own. I think this is a real opportunity to share knowledge. And then the land access and opportunity kind of speaks to what I was talking about, trying to, other states have systems for, and I'm not very familiar with this, I just learned that other states have this, where like the people who have land in a agriculture trust, basically creating a bank of available land with people who are looking for agricultural land, and being able to match up potential buyers and sellers, or that sort of thing. And the youth and workforce development, I think that's all pretty self-evident. We got to equip the youth in this. I think getting them interested and making it valuable for them. There are plenty of students who are eager for opportunities to work alongside adults and educators and people with wisdom to share. And I think this could provide that type of opportunity. All right, so what I hope to gain from this group is, like I said, this is extremely early development. This is actually the first time I've put anything on paper for this idea. I've been talking about it with people in the community, and collecting thoughts and ideas. I threw it together today so we could have this discussion tonight. But, yeah, just trying to understand from your point of view, what are the strengths and gaps in our current ecosystem? What opportunities you see for connecting land and youth, like I just talked about? Any kind of risks or concerns, and what kind of pilot projects might be realistic? And then who else should I be having this conversation with? We don't have to answer all those, but if y'all got some thoughts you want to share, I'll take notes.
So many of these are mentioned in our comprehensive plan, how to transition land, how to, growing our own food, how to promote agriculture. A lot of these are mentioned in our comprehensive plan, so
Where can I get a copy of that?
they go right along.
On the
But-
website.
It's on the website,
Okay.
the 2020 comprehensive plan. The Ag Task Force Plan Recommendation 2023 is on there. So a lot of these you're mentioning are suggestions that others have made too.
I guess my first question is, have you presented this to your board, and are they on board with you to move forward to partner with other boards to keep this process moving?
I have not. This may not be a farm center initiative. This is I'm pursuing a Grow the Good initiative. Like my next version of Grow the Good is community collaboration. It's mainly focused on the non-ag aspects of this stuff, but this kind of falls under that, and it's really just me going around trying to connect pieces and inspire organizations to work together and try to provide some framework for that. The Farm Center doesn't necessarily support my ideology, and I don't know that my contract will extend into next year with the Farm Center, so I am still the director, and I'm not here to speak on behalf of the Farm Center for this particular project. Hopefully, the Farm Center would be involved in some way with this, but I'm not saying that they are right now.
Well, you mentioned here, connecting youth to land. Does the farm center have enough land for, like you talked about, a prototype to actually get youth to come and start this?
We've got about 7 or 8 acres at least of power and sewer right away that we can't put buildings on. So yes, that was kind of the idea, was to use that land to develop a agriculture incubator.
And for that part, are they on board with that? Because that, I could see, could be the start.
Yeah.
I mean, if they would support that much, and I'm assuming you're thinking of small plots or raised beds, that type of,
Yeah, that's right. And I definitely think they would be on board for that. We had some discuss. So Abigail Gibson last year pursued this idea with Leadership Oconee. So they did a project to pursue an ag incubator, and it was largely not much came out of it.
gotcha.
It was basically just throwing out ideas and no action. But I think the Farm Center supports the idea. None of us have time to actually design and build it out.
Gotcha.
So the model that I was trying to pursue is, how do we equip and empower other leaders to develop these ideas and implement them at the Farm Center? And it's complicated, just like all this stuff. It all takes a lot of time and effort and energy, and if it takes us doing it, it's just never going to get done, right? So this is the reason why I'm coming out in the community, pitching this to y'all and other people, to try to find that person or people with the time and interest and expertise to lead this kind of initiative and pull groups together.
But the first thing that comes to my mind is, connecting youth to land. And I think as far as resources, just the first thing I can think of is, make contact with the school district, because the FFA program has always been a part of, middle school and high school. I know when I was in the FFA and when I was a kid in the FFA, we would go to big farms. It'd be a school bus trip.
Yeah.
2 or 3 buses full of FFA members, and agricultural classes. And we would, for some reason, we always went to farms in Anderson, I remember. I don't remember going to a lot of farms in Oconee, but we would do soil judging contests and everything. And the reason why I'm saying that is, I think because what I'm hearing from you is you need resources, which means you need money to do this.
Well, maybe.
But what I'm getting at is, if there would be a partnership in getting the ag teachers on all the high schools on board and middle school, they might be funding from the school district to help start something like this. This is just a suggestion I'm thinking when I'm hearing you talk.
Yeah. So, we've got a really good relationship with those folks, and I feel like they would 100% support the idea, but they don't need another thing. They're all overwhelmed with trying to meet their requirements for the things that they're already responsible for. There's some hope that they could, there would be some overlap so that they could complete some of their requirements and meet the standards and all that stuff through this project. But I don't want to ask them necessarily to jump in early on with I'm trying to think how to describe this. I don't want to start there. Yes, I want to invite them in, and I want to help them, encourage them to help co-create this. And if they have money to spend and contribute, cool. What we need, I think, the Farm Center has some infrastructure funds that we could potentially allocate to this. I can't speak to that, but I think they're for the infrastructure development side of it. I think we could apply some funding to it, but we can't. The labor side of it and the design of this whole thing and the developing the idea into a really concrete framework that we can move forward with. I think that's what I'm looking for right now is just help on the creating the design and the framework.
My question would be, because we all know and we're grateful that they finally got their 240 money. And in that, it does say that they have to do the adult ed part. If I understand not wanting to burden them with that, but that is a requirement that they're going to be asked to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I think not just FFA, but Clemson Extension also has, I don't want to say an obligation, but they have things that they have resources available to adults. I mean, one thing that I could, this is just kind of off the top of my head, but I could see where this could be a collaboration between FFA and between Clemson Extension. Everybody's soil test, we know that, and especially in the spring when you're looking at what you're going to need to fertilize, what you have here and there. If you had FFA teachers with their students, and it may be a lot of parents that come with that, but then open it up to the homesteaders and the other folks to come in, and that meeting room's a great place. Y'all have done a fantastic job with that. And give them, the basics, the sheet of how to go collect your soils, how to go do this, how to mix it, how to do this, and then how to collect it to bring it in to the extension to be tested. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of people that, they just think, I'll just go out here and get this. But if they want a really good sample, there's certain things that you need to do. You can't just go dig it, you need to do certain things to get y'all know that, to get a good soil sample and to get a good test back. And, that may be something that maybe a new homesteader hadn't even really thought about. They may read it or watch a YouTube video or something, but they hadn't really thought about it. And the other thing is, I get these calls all the time. You cleaned out your stalls, do you have some, I'm like, you can't use that. You can't take it straight out of the barn and use it. You can't it's got to sit. You've got to, there's certain things that have to happen before you can just use it. And I think so many times people get discouraged because they don't know that. So my first thought would be, said all that to say this, homesteaders, in a roundtable meeting with your FFA teachers, and I don't think Seneca has a greenhouse. They may, but I don't.
They do.
They do have a greenhouse. Then maybe they could start plants. Homesteaders build boxes, show them how to build raised beds, and start the collective there, and start small. Because if it starts small and grows, they need to be teaching. This year, you may have 7 raised beds. Next year, you may have the whole 7 acres done. But start it small and grow it out, and then continue to grow it.
That's right.
And teach them to give back to the community, that when they see the fruits of their labor, they may say, okay, we're not, they may sell it at the farmer's market. Give them, from start to finish, they would have a way to do it.
Sure.
Because if Seneca does, then I know West Oak does, and Walhalla does for sure. They're all selling their plants, they're all doing the same thing, but if they could learn to work collectively and maybe change what they grow. Maybe if y'all had a round table, they could start tomato plants, they could start green beans, they could start the things that the young adult homesteader, farmer needs, they need to buy already, plants, not necessarily, I'm just throwing out ideas of what may help some of the homesteaders help you build that ag incubator.
Yeah, I like it.
And then if Clemson and the school district have the funds and the resources, I think Mariah I think they're all great. Sarah, Chris, all of them, they're good. But Mariah, she's a go-getter. And if you said, hey, I need you to teach a class on ag business, on how to price, how to track your cost, how to do this, because so many times that's where the small farmer gets lost, is in how to track that cost and how to put that price, and how to keep those records, from start to finish.
Sure.
That paperwork sometimes is where things get bogged down.
It is. I think there are people like Nathan Vanette at Growing Green Family Farms who have a huge passion for teaching that stuff already, and he's done a lot with no-till farming. We met with them earlier in the year and visited their farm, and he's got a passion for the numbers. He's very into they do a no-till technique where they lay down cardboard, put like 180-day rotted compost in a 4-inch layer, plant, harvest, lay a 1-inch layer down, plant again, and they're growing a lot for the restaurant community in Greenville and the Greenville market and things like that. But he's like crazy interested in sharing all that financial information. He tracks it all, so connecting people like that in a there's all sorts of opportunities like that, but it's scaling up to the upper level to create that framework and that business model, for lack of a better term, for how all this works and how you pay for it all, and that side of it. I think that I'm trying to figure out the who, not how, to do that. That side of it, because it's honestly outside my area of expertise too.
Mr. Arthur, was you with the Farm Center in 2020?
No, sir.
The reason why I was asking, I retired from the sheriff's office, and in 2019, about a year before I retired, there was a fool stole a $10,000 Sarcom press. It was loaned from University of South Carolina to Clemson, and these people from Oconee stole it, and I recovered it off in the woods. It was heavy. We had to get a crane to get in there and get it out where they dumped it off a cliff. To make a long story short, the guy at Clemson, who I turned that back over to him after we caught the guys and put them in jail, I started questioning him about it, and he started telling me a lot about sorghum. Sorghum is not the same as cane.
Mm-hmm.
And sorghum was traditionally grown up in here, in this area, you know, before probably, I guess, the 50s or 60s, it kind of started dwindling. And Clemson was working on a program to get sorghum started back, and they were looking for farmers to be willing to grow sorghum, and they had the press and everything to do it, and it'd be free to use it. And I mentioned to him, I said, get in touch with the farm center here in Oconee, is what I suggested to him at that time. Whether he did or didn't, I don't know, but that just brings me to if you had the Clemson Agriculture Department on board with something like that, they might would throw some money, because he told me, he said, we're looking for farmers in Oconee and Pickens that are willing to pick up the sorghum tradition and get it back growing.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know if he ever reached out to anybody at the farm
Yeah.
center, but
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that, what you're taking, and that could be resources right there.
Dang right. No, that's cool. I went and saw a sorghum syrup making demonstration. Kevin and Melinda that serve on our board, they've got some tractor-driven presses, and they make a big.
Well, this one
Match
was
up every year.
operated off a big electric motor, but
Yeah,
it was
no
designed
doubt.
to jump in there and get the job done, you know, to
That's
produce.
interesting.
But that was just something that come to my mind that it might be worth a phone call to say, are you still wanting
Right.
sorghum farmers?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you
absolutely.
started with one product like that, something that's kind of a niche, you never know. You might, I mean, it might grow a little faster, especially. I mean, I'm not sure exactly.
But that sorghum press belonged to the University of South Carolina, but they was loaning it out to Clemson to try to get interest up in here to do that.
That's fascinating. I think this is a good point, which sorghum's food, but, trying to think what is how could you divvy this up, are there different categories that this stuff would fall under, like your staples and your, cash crops, and then your, sorghums and,
Well, it was a substitute for sugar, by all means, but it
I
was
think-
useful for a lot of stuff.
at what point does a farmer become a row cropper? What's considered a row cropper?
As far as a crop itself, it'd be corn, beans. That's
But
my
like, at
two.
what point in scale do you
Oh, and scale.
become a,
I've always been told by farmers that you gotta be small or you gotta be big, you can't be between.
yeah,
That's what I've always been told.
I believe that.
You gotta go big or go small.
And maybe that's part of this project, is you start small, and then you provide that pathway, bridge, path maybe to, make that transition from small to big. I don't know.
So would your board support a roundtable, if you hosted a roundtable for your ag teacher? You gotta have all your, all of your, people at the table. So if you had FFA, Clemson Extension, and your young farmers, all play a part in what you're talking about trying to build and building community. I know y'all come together really well for the fair every year. If they could come together in the spring or whenever, it really doesn't matter when it starts, for something like this, that would be a great thing.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the plan, but, I'd love to have some kind of framework in place before we have that, roundtable discussion, just because they're the only ones I've participated in, maybe produce some, it's a tough one, you know, it's tough to manage roundtable discussions. I've been trying to figure this out too, you know, like, what is the format for building this out? You know, I wanna get diverse perspectives and a lot of different inputs, but it's also hard for 50 people to sit and listen to some, you know, individuals, share long thought out ideas. I don't know, it's just one of the structural challenges of, building something like this, but, definitely not insurmountable, just, I've been trying to think that one through, which is kind of why I'm like approaching it in small groups. Like, you know, I'm seeing how this lands on y'all. I'm gonna refine my pitch for the next group, and I'll just kind of keep, refining the concept until I've got something that's easy to grasp, and I know what I'm asking from folks when I approach, situations like this. Y'all are my guinea pigs, so thanks for, letting me get in some, practice with y'all.
The land access and opportunity, what states were you referring to that you've heard has, that information?
I'll have to let you know about that. So I started working with a young lady who retired from the Air Force, who started a business to work with people who want to get into growing backyard gardens. Her business is Edible Gardens Consulting, and she spent some time working with Growing Green Family Farms, and then I think she was their kind of farm manager before she started this. So I engaged her to see if she could help me build out a raised bed garden program at our farmers market. Going back to that ag incubator that Leadership Oconee did, the one thing that came out of it was they got a grant from Ag South for $5,000. So I spent that money on some raised beds and asked her to help me develop a program where we can teach people interested in growing at the market every Saturday. Here's how you fill a raised bed. Here's how you plant this thing or that thing. Just create some curriculum around that. So working with her, I'm sharing my kind of overarching vision for the entire ag incubator. And she mentioned to me that there are states that provide these land bank websites. Basically, I think probably just a website that shows agricultural land that's conserved or in a trust for only for agriculture purposes. But I don't know, I'll have to look into that and let you know if that's something you've never heard of yourself, or.
Well, no, I mean, I think I heard her speak of that at a farmer's breakfast one
Oh,
time.
Interesting.
I think she talked about a lot of things, because don't they also help with veterans? They do some things.
I don't think that was the person you're thinking about. That was Victory. I don't think it was her.
Okay.
This lady's name is Lonnie Bell or Beal or something like that. But
So you need some resources such as land, is what you're saying.
yeah, I mean, like, well, yeah,
Well,
that would be a good
well,
one.
what
the
about-
space?
What about, asking we've talked a lot about the conservation bank and conservation easements. If somebody was to acquire money to put their land in a conservation easement, would it be too much to ask the person that they're gonna buy the conservation easement from to say, look, can you cut off 10 acres of your land to let us do agricultural education?
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting idea. hadn't
Because I
thought
know
about
that when you do a conservation easement, you gotta go by some rules,
Yes,
is what I understand. And why not that be one of the rules?
that's an interesting idea. I talked to Mark Fisher about this idea, and he really liked it. He mentioned trying to get all the folks that he serves, what do you call the people that own these? So he manages, what does he manage exactly?
Who's that?
Mark Fisher with
NRCS, isn't it?
Soil and Water.
Soil and Water.
Soil and Water. So apparently that's his job, is he goes out and manages these properties that are in, I don't know if the right term is trust or easement or what, but like, they got ponds and stuff on it. He goes and checks their dams and monitors. I really don't know what, but he's connected with that community of existing, agricultural landowners that have, now some of it may be like, timber, you know, and things like that, but I don't know, just trying to,
I believe it'd be hard to get just a private individual to let you come on his land and, I mean, I'm just looking at reality here.
absolutely.
I think it would be difficult to get a private landowner to agree to that. But if you had one of these conservation easements and they say, hey, can we cut off 15, 20 acres of 1,000 acres if there's gonna be a conservation easement on it for agricultural education purposes?
What would also, you know, potentially fit the bill is, you know, get the, farmers that are maybe smaller partnerships where we're, instead of trying to do a one-stop shop with everything, we get somebody to plant or to do an experiment on their land and document, learn what you can, invite other people to participate in that experiment, do something different over here so that we're comparing and contrasting different methods. And for example, like, you know, for a market grower, we do one farm where it's traditional farming techniques, get a tractor, plow it, till it, plant it, grow it, harvest it, sell it. What was the economics behind that? Now we get another farmer to grow the same amount with a no-till technique or something. What are the economics behind that? Let's do that as many times as we can and see what there is to learn, and then pick whichever method was best and, you know, build some teaching opportunities around getting other people started with that sort of stuff.
The good thing is, a lot of things you've mentioned are in the plans, like the comprehensive plan, and so you can.
Yeah, I'll
link
check
those
that out.
ideas.
Why do you think the comprehensive plan hadn't been, or has it? Is it, you feel like it's being fulfilled and pursued, or no?
It's our guideline, and we've tried several of the things in there, and they haven't made it through.
I got
So,
you. But yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
It's a living document. It's updated every 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And then every 10 years, there's a big push to do the whole thing.
Oh.
So they will continue to do that. That's
This
2030.
year, no, so this year, it's under review.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at that and see if there's, see what kind of new thoughts and opportunities there may be in that document.
well, we've mentioned roundtable, and we mentioned 29 January, excuse me. Is that a date where you still are interested in us getting together?
Potentially, it's still tentative and unplanned yet. That was just kind of a placeholder. That event is not necessarily, didn't originate from the Farm Center Board. That originated from a farmer, Trixie DeRosa Davis, wanted to invite farmers to share resource, or to have resources on display, on offer for the farm community. So the idea for that is invite farmers and people interested in farming, have different tables set up around the room for whatever resources are on offer for the farm community. Have everybody stand up and give a 3-minute spiel about what they've got to offer. Talk to the farmers about what are the challenges, what are the things we need to be working on this year, how can we support you? And that's kind of the rough agenda for that, but I haven't seen the full scope that she was planning to present to the Farm Center for, I guess, approval and kind of partnering together on that. She wants it to be a Farm Center thing, but it's really, I'm trying to let her take the lead on that one, so I don't have it's a firm set in stone, date, but even then, it wouldn't be, it would just be come participate, provide feedback. I don't think there would be like let's meet and talk about action items moving forward for that one.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Well, just let us know. We're glad to participate however we can.
Yep, that'd
Um,
be great.
Well, thank you for that. We will, ponder it over and discuss it as individuals, and
Yeah, I think just kind of be aware that that's cooking. If you have additional thoughts and want to talk about it, hit me up. I'd love to just, get any good ideas that y'all got or people that you think about that could contribute to this effort, and just reach out to me and let me know.
Good job on the winter bazaar or winter craft thing. Seem to have quite a few farmers there.
really good.
Yeah,
You
I
did
mean,
a
I
great
thought that
job,
was a
so
really cool
congratulations.
touch. Thank you to have, people selling food and showing rabbits and cows, and yeah, it was cool. So
Do you
thank
have
you.
an idea on,
Combination.
do you have an idea on attendance? How many?
I wish I did. No, I don't, but it was well attended.
It certainly was.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly pleased with the community support we got for that one, and the ladies that planned it, and vendors that participated, and yeah, it was all really good. A lot of volunteer support, a lot of kids. Beth did an incredible job of creating plenty of volunteer positions and getting kids and adults and everybody to come man those stuff. It was
It was a
good.
good time, yeah.
Yeah, I want more of that. That's the model.
Really good.
They did, that was all, non-board member that did that. We just, the model I'm trying to pursue is finding people with passion, expertise, and credibility, and equipping them to create good events at the farm center that benefit the community. And they came together and they planned the whole thing. I supported and gave them some direction, but it was largely, their efforts that brought it all to life. And, yeah, it was great. It's good for the community, good for the small businesses, good for the farm center.
So you have the live nativity Friday and Saturday.
Yep,
Coming up.
starts,
That's looking
6 PM to 9 PM. The way they're planning to do that is, a show, an hour. Basically, they've got 6 different, church choirs lined up to come put on 6 performances, and they'll do, Mary and Joseph, some reenactment, and horse-drawn carriage rides, and hot cocoa and that sort of stuff. So it should be a really good evening.
What's your next event after the nativity?
Looking at probably March, the 3rd Saturday in March will be the Men and Women of Action Annual Equipment Auction. Talked to Brian Allen a little bit about what could we add to that to make it bring more people in, make it more of a, just something bigger for the community, and not sure what we'll do with that. April 18th, we're looking to launch the market and have an event around that. Also looking at partnering with the FFA on that one to provide ag safety stuff. They've got, they want to provide first aid kits for all the farmers to keep in their equipment. And they want to do some demonstration, like there's something where it shows what it looks like when you get caught in a PTO shaft, and that sort of stuff. Maybe getting the university to do some safety demonstration, and that's the market launch. That's the Ag Magazine launch. I think Collins Children's Home wants to do a barbecue fundraiser in the exhibit hall that day, so we're looking to pile stuff in and make a big event. And then mid-May, we'll plan to do a festival in conjunction with the Farm Crawl, so that Farm Crawl will go. They're planning to sell 600 tickets to visit local farms, and then we'll invite them all to the Farm Center for lunch, have some dancing and partying that evening, and something else during the day. I don't know. We haven't fully designed that event yet, but,
Sporting Clays is April
oh yeah, I
too.
forgot about Sporting Clays, definitely, Sporting Clays. I think Sporting Clays
Early in
may
April.
be into March this time. I'm not sure if it's in April or not, but yeah, Sporting Clays will be coming up soon. December, January, February, March. Yeah, April 10th and the 11th of April is Sporting Clay.
It's
And
always a good one. I'll have a lot of good events there.
yeah, yeah.
Appreciate the Forum Center being there and all the effort and all the people that work, volunteers and all the effort that goes into it.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, good stuff. But like I said, I'm eager to have a better cooperation and collaboration among our groups. So I hope we can continue pursuing that. Thank y'all for what y'all do.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for giving me this much time. Sorry to tie up your evening, but this was helpful for me. Hopefully it inspired y'all a little bit, give you some ideas and stuff to think about.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Carry on. Yep. Thank you.
All right, we'll skip right there to D, district reports and comments. C is tabled, so D.
So C got replaced with, the meetings being postponed for quarter one.
Okay,
So that would need to be discussed and voted on.
all right. So we are asked to postpone, meeting until April.
I think from what he just said there too, our minutes reflect that the January 29th, it was a proposed meeting with their board, and that's not what's gonna take place January 29th. So I don't think
It's
there's-
not even set up, so, yeah.
I mean, but what will be set up won't be a board meeting, and I thought that was the purpose of trying to, did I look, is that not correct? Because that's what our notes reflect, that it was a meeting proposed to meet with their board, January 29th, 26th, as a proposal to meet with their board.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna be a board meeting. So even if that happens, I don't think that's anything that Elise needs to worry about to advertise for us. 'Cause that's not a board meeting.
No, that's correct. So,
So with that said, that kind of, I don't have a problem with it. I understand why they're asking us to. I don't have a problem. And y'all can discuss your thoughts. But,
I mean, yeah, there's such a strain on the planning department with Elise having to handle that whole thing by herself. I understand where they're coming from.
I mean, I get it. We've got other things that we've got to handle first.
Yeah.
So I think to tentatively schedule for April, I don't see a problem with that.
so we're basically gonna strike out the first 3 months. The agenda was given to us a couple months ago. So we're basically talking about striking out January, February, March, and just first meeting of the year, April 13th. Okay. Okay. It's not to say we can't work on things, initiatives that we're working on already individually, or you can work on things that you're working on, just we can't get together as a group.
I mean, I understand why, so I'm fine with the motion to postpone. I mean, we have it for discussion, so if anybody has any thoughts, now's the time to make them known.
I mean, I wouldn't think that, and this come from Phil, right? I don't think he would do this unless it was a desperate need to do it.
So it was actually a request of council.
Council is actually requesting
Oh.
they're trying to look, what I think, and nobody said this to me, the first time I heard about it was when I walked in and Elise told us as we were there. But I can understand it fully. If I was sitting in council's position, I would say, what committees can we not meet that can hold their own? And I would say this would be one. And I would say there's others that probably are gonna do the same thing. Unless there's since she has to control zoning, unless there's, a request to rezone the EBC, the BZA, they're probably not gonna meet. If there's not something on the planning agenda, they're probably not gonna meet. I get it. There's no need to meet.
Yeah.
I can see us, like Rex said, we can work on what we're working on.
Yeah.
And
Hold those thoughts till April.
hold those thoughts till April. I don't see a problem with it.
Yep.
Personally.
Okay,
Gotta
well,
do what we gotta do.
all right, y'all ready to vote? Okay, we've made the motion to, postpone, we have the motion and we're in discussion, is that right?
No.
We need a motion.
You need a motion to,
Okay.
you need a motion to postpone, Ag Board advisory meetings for the first quarter of 2026, and for the first meeting to be April 13th of 2026.
Second,
Well, I didn't-
sound like a good motion to me. Okay, we need a motion like that. unless-
I made the motion,
that's
that's
it.
fine.
Well, that sounded good, okay.
Yeah, it sounded good, Kim.
Now,
Okay.
I'll second it, and, any discussion on that? One thing is, we mentioned, try to do anything tonight we can't do in the first quarter, such as what?
Well, I'll write the letter. That's the only thing I can think of that we discussed to action.
Right,
That's an action item, and we agreed that David would just take care of that. He's already
I'll
told
get
us
with
is
the
what's
lease
gonna
to-
be in it, so.
I'll get with Elise to properly put it on a letterhead or whatever, and we'll send it to county council.
Actually, I think it would be if you wouldn't mind, sorry, I'm gonna get in trouble, if you would present it to council.
Oh.
It could be in their backup, but then if you would read it to council, if that would be okay. Because I think they need to know that we support them in what they did. And I think that was a great idea, and you had that idea, and I think you should be the one to present it,
Okay.
personally.
If that's okay with y'all, I'll do it.
I think it
Like
should be
that?
done that way, because
Yeah.
at least that way they know we are paying attention to what they're doing.
Okay.
So I think you should, personally.
Okay.
so you'll submit it to Elise, and she can share it with us, and
Yeah.
then it'll go on
Yeah.
from there, and you can present it.
Okay.
So we already voted on that,
Yeah,
so
we
we're good
did.
on that. So we got the motion and the second to postpone first quarter meetings until 13 April.
Yeah.
Motion and a second. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Unanimous?
It's unanimous, so we will not meet until April 13th as a body. But please work on things your initiatives and ideas that you have, we'll work on those individually, for sure.
Not a problem.
All right. Anything else? Well, thanks, everybody, for staying late, and, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
You forgot your district report. You just need to,
Well, I did mention it, but nobody said anything, so,
it was,
okay, district
you just had
reports.
to back up and get the other one, is what she was saying, and then the district reports.
Okay. Anybody have a report from their district?
No, I haven't been assigned to a district, so I'm at large, so I'm just sitting here being happy I'm here.
Well, you've contributed greatly tonight, David. We appreciate it, all the comments and questions, and as everybody has. So, I mentioned earlier, one thing we do have, on this board is good attendance. Pretty much every meeting we have good attendance. I know some people had some issues tonight, but, we appreciate everybody's service on the board. It takes time, and it's not easy. There's no easy answers, but, we're glad to be, working for the betterment of Oconee County. So thanks, everybody, and I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and New Year's. We'll see you in April, if not before. So If we have a motion to adjourn, I guess now's a good time.
Motion.
Motion and a second, and
Yeah, I'll second.
second, all right. All in favor, let's say aye and go on. All right.